In this video, I'm going to show you 4 different ways that you can win pieces in the opening. Now, when I say win pieces, I'm specifically talking about minor pieces. As a reminder, those are knights and bishops. Now, these are not opening traps. They're ideas or little tactics that you can use in your games. You can use it 2 different ways. First way is you can win your opponent's pieces if they fall for one of these tricks. And the other way is it'll help you not lose your own pieces if you're on the lookout for these 4 things that are pretty common. So both of those ways can help you, but let's jump right in and see what these 4 ways are. All right, so for the first way, I want to show you an example and see if you could spot the move. So e4, c5, this is the Sicilian. And then here, black attacks the pawn on e4, and we don't defend it, we play bishop to e2. So the question for you is, what are we going to do if black captures this free pawn? Yeah, if you said queen a4 check, you are correct. So this is a fork. Black has to get out of check somehow, and then the knight is hanging on e4. We're just winning a piece. And this can show up in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be like this with the knight on e4. Sometimes there's like a bishop sitting on b4 and you can do it. Sometimes there's a bishop on g4 and you can do it. There's lots of different ways. The point is, if the queen has the diagonal open, in this case, it's here, but for black it's here. If that diagonal is open, you want to be on the lookout for checks and potential forks with pieces that are sitting, somewhere along here. That's the idea. All right, so for the second way to win a piece, I have an example here, and white is going to play e4 to gain control of the center, and black decides that, you know what, I don't want to trade this right now. I'm going to move my bishop back to g6. Question is, why is that a crucial mistake? Well, if you said e5, you are correct. By pushing the pawn forward, we can create a fork, and black can't save both pieces at the same time. Whichever one he moves, we will take the other one and win a piece for a pawn. And this is extremely common, especially at the lower levels. Lots of players, are developing their knights to these squares, and then if they put a bishop on one of these, be on the lookout for pushing your pawns forward and getting a fork. At the same time, if you're putting your pieces like that, watch out that you don't get forked. And on a similar note, here's a little bonus tip for you. You can also do something similar when you have a pin on a knight. So in this case, we've got the knight pinned. One thing that we can try to do is push the pawn forward, and we're not creating a fork, but we're taking advantage of the fact that the knight is pinned. And a lot of times you can win a piece that way. Now, that being said, there's something very important that you have to be aware of. So I'm going to flip this position around so we can see it from black's perspective. So we're playing black, and white just plays d5, attacking our knight. We're like, oh, great, we're pinned, we're losing a piece, right? Actually, there's a trick that you can do a lot of times if you get pinned like this to sort of save the position. And what you do is play a6. And the idea is that if white goes ahead and captures our knight, well, then we're taking his bishop, right? And then if he takes here, we can just take it back with our bishop and trade the pawns. Everything's just a big trade. So that doesn't really benefit him. And so what some people will do is move the bishop back, trying to keep the pin and also, attack it with the pawn. Well, then we can play b5. And again, if he takes our knight, well, we're going to take his bishop. Now, it kind of messes up our pawn structure, and this is maybe a little annoying. But other than that, we're fine. We didn't lose a piece, right? And then if we go back, if white retreats, well, we no longer have a pin here, and we can just move our knight somewhere, right, to get out of the attack from the pawn. So very useful to remember if you find yourself where your knight's pinned and you end up, getting a pawn attacking it. A lot of times, now it doesn't always work, so you'll have to calculate it out in your position. But a lot of times you can save it by playing this a6 move and then either follow it up with b5 or just capture, depending on what they do. Definitely want to keep that in mind, as it's pretty common. All right, the third way to win a piece is what is known as the Noah's Ark trap. And I'm going to show you an example from the Sicilian defense. You guys know that I like to play bishop b5. I just launched the course on that. But one of the kind of weird moves that I've seen occasionally is knight to a5. And at first glance, it's like, well, it's kind of violating a lot of opening principles. You're moving the same piece twice in the opening. You're putting your knight on the rim. But it's actually a tricky move. And let's say, I'm not really paying attention. I don't know what's going on. I just castle. Black plays a6, attacks my bishop, and I'm like, that's fine, I'll just come back here. At this point, I've just lost a piece. And the way that it works is black plays b5, attacks it, I gotta go back, and he plays c4. And guess what? This bishop has nowhere to go. All these pawns are trapping it. Okay, this is called the Noah's Ark trap. So when you have your bishops developed, either here or here, and your opponent starts pushing pawns, you have to be aware if there's 3 pawns that can be advanced like this, you could fall victim to the Noah's Ark trap. So definitely want to pay attention to that. And I want to show you one more version of that Noah's Ark trap that's good to know as well. Let's say e4, e5, and let's say you play bishop e5, which, all right, this is maybe not the greatest move, but black might play a5. And if you've never seen this before, you probably are thinking that's a wasted move. It's kind of dumb. Like, why is he doing that? Let's say we're like, whatever, I'm going to move my pawn up, get my bishop out, right? Well, guess what? Now he can play c6, attacks our bishop. We got to go back somewhere, here or here. And it doesn't matter where we go. He's going to do the same thing, play b5. Again, right? We got to move our bishop, only square, and look at this. Noah's Ark trap. The pawns are going the other direction, but it's the same effect. Our bishop is trapped, and we just lost a piece. So I remember the first time, somebody played this on me, and I was like, a5, that's a stupid move, right? And then I'm like, oh, I'm losing my bishop now. So, and let me just show you from the other perspective. Sometimes you can try this, especially at lower rated levels. It's kind of a cheap little trick, but you can go for this Noah's Ark trap. It's the same as if you were to play c6 and then they move, and then you play b5 and then they move, and then you play a5 and try to trap it. The difference is by rearranging the move order, it's much more tricky and harder to see, right? Because then the chances that your opponent plays some other random move are much higher if you play this first. Otherwise they're gonna see like exactly what you're trying to do. Anyway, kind of rambling there, but I hope you get the idea. All right, so the fourth way to win a piece has to do with a discovered attack that happens in a lot of situations. So let's say we've got this position and white plays bishop to g5 and we just castle, okay? And now white plays the move knight to d5, and this is actually a really big mistake. So if you want to take a second, see if you can figure out what can black do to win a piece here. Yeah, if you said knight takes d5, you are correct. So this is the idea. When you have your bishop and your queen lined up on the bishop, you can move your knight out of the way and you create an attack there, right? Like you're threatening to take this bishop. And that's really good because, like, most likely white would like to just recapture your knight. You just took a knight, he wants to take it back, but then he loses a piece here. You take, he takes, you take, right? So he can't do that. And the other part of this tactic is that if he tries to trade the bishop first, you can recapture with your knight. And so he never gets to take your knight, and you end up with 3 pieces, and he only has 2, right? And so that is pretty common, actually, this discovered attack on a bishop, and very good to know. And sometimes, in this case, white made a big mistake and moved his knight there, but let's say he had, castled. We could even play knight to d5 in this position, and it's not a bad move. I mean, I'm not sure how beneficial it is for you, but you're not losing a piece by going there, because if he takes it, well, you still got this bishop, right? Same little tactic. So it's very good to be aware of when you have your queen and bishop lined up. You have a discovered attack, and you want to be on the lookout for moves like this, especially if there's a piece there. You can usually take it and then still get your knight back and win whatever piece was sitting there. So good one to know. There you have it, 4 ways to win pieces in the opening. Let me know if you have questions or comments. As always, thanks so much for watching. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.